Welcome back to Gloved Up Garage. You just saw the 89 leave on a trailer, and well, it's going to a new home, and I'm sitting in an SN95 Mustang. So, yeah, I traded that 5-liter 5-speed coupe for an SN95 that doesn't run, that needs paint and body work. But there's a reason. There's a good reason behind it. So the 89 is going to a really good home. I know the gentleman that's getting it, known him for a long time, and he's got a solid plan for that car. And he's going to pick up where I left off and make that car really, really good again. And we may see it back on the channel at some point. For now, we did a trade for this SN95, a little bit of cash to go towards the mini split system, so that I can stop sweating my rear end off out here while I'm working on this stuff. This isn't just a regular run-of-the-mill SN95 Mustang. I mean, you can see it's a 5-speed car. This is a GTS. And the GTS is probably one of the more rare SN95s that's out there, because these cars were the replacement for the LX 5.0 from the Fox Body platform into the SN95 platform. And we'll walk around this car and I'll show you what makes it so special and why it was the replacement for that LX 5-liter. So this is a 1995 Mustang GTS. I don't know that it was ever officially called a GTS, but the GTS is the stripped down version of a Mustang GT. We get all of the power and the drivetrain from the GT, but we get none of the creature comforts that came standard on a GT. So the GTs had sports seats, but the GTS had these V6 seats, because pretty much this interior was carried over from the V6 model. We got a vinyl steering wheel, no cruise control, no rear defrost, and yeah, those are manual roll-up windows and manual locks. This car does not have the Mach 460 system. It does have power mirrors, which I believe were just absolutely standard on all SN95s, no matter what trim level they were. The interior on this car is in really good shape. The original floor mat's in there. It's got a little bit of wear on it. We got a little bit of wear on the seat over here, but overall this thing is really, really good. Some of the trim is apart from where the guy was starting the body work on it, and the back seat's in really good shape too. But for the most part, the interior is really good. So we do have some body work to do the outside of the car. It's been sanded down, and I would imagine because the white paint started to peel just like the 96 Cobra did. Pretty much all of the white from the 90s on Fords was not that good. It didn't like to stick. The windshield's in good shape. The cow's a little bit dirty. But the main thing that I need to knock out is all of the surface rust on the roof, and then get some good primer, probably an epoxy on the roof. Like I said, I can't work on this right now, so it's going to have to go outside for a little bit, and I don't want that surface rust getting any worse on the roof. Some of the cool stuff that we got with the car, those are Cobra style headlights. We got period correct clear reflector corner lights, and then we've got the 95 Cobra R wheels. And these are the legit wheels, just like what's on the 96 Cobra project. Very desirable, getting hard to find. And these are in better shape than what's on the 96 Cobra. So I'm going to open the hood up and let you guys take a look at the engine bay. If you're one of the SN95 guys that's out there, you already see something that's very desirable, very hard to find. And this sight shield up here, it still has the little headlight flaps intact. Those are getting hard to find, and they're very desirable. And I got one with this car. One thing about the front before we move up to the engine, this car does not have fog lights. There's blinks down there in the bumper. They cover up where the fog lights would go. They got a little primer on them, so we'll clean those up. We got a pretty basic 5-liter K&N cold air intake. Looks like a 70 millimeter throttle body. This does have shorty headers on it. We've got an upgraded coil. A few things that have happened to try to get this car to run It does have a new CCRM, the relay module right here. It does have a new distributor, of course, the new coil, and we have a new TFI module, ignition module over here. With all of that, it still will not run. Now, it will turn over just fine and just will not start. And one of the things that I found kind of weird is while I was trying to get it to start, there is a kind of a popping, a pinging, and a weird noise coming from directly under the front of the intake manifold in the middle of the engine. I think what's happened is we got some sort of issue going on with the lifters or the push rods, maybe some stuck valves. This car did sit for quite a while, so it's possible that maybe the valves kind of got stuck, and I don't know, maybe the lifters have collapsed to the point where they're just not going to come back. When you turn this car over, it acts like it doesn't have a lot of compression. And full disclosure, I went ahead and tested cylinders 1 and 2 over here just because they're easy to get to. Both of them had 50 PSI. So I really think we're dealing with some sort of compression issue, and I'll have to figure that out in the future. Yeah, I know I got an SN95 that doesn't run in trade for that Fox body. But let me show you one of the good things about this car. Grab my flashlight here. We got a little bit of rust that's forming right there on that frame rail at the tower, but that's just surface rust. That rail is absolutely clean and in great shape. The same thing over here on the passenger side. There's not a speck of rust on this passenger side. So we got a good, solid, rust-free car that needs a little bit of body work and needs some engine work possibly. But I've got a plan for that. And I want your all's opinion about it. I want you guys to drop it down in the comments and let me know what you guys think. But one of my all-time favorite Mustangs, and if money was no option and I could buy any Mustang that I wanted, top 5 would be a 1995 Cobra R Mustang. But the collector and the Mustang purist inside of me would not allow me to own that car and do what I want to do to it. And I'll explain. So how would I ruin a 95 Cobra R if I had one? Well, to kind of take a step back, the 1995 Cobra R was 250 Mustang Cobras that were built by Ford for racing in the SCCA. They had a lot of the creature comforts stripped out of them, just like this car. No power windows, no power locks. Those cars did not have AC. This car does. Those cars didn't have ABS or cruise control, and they also did not have a back seat or a radio. They had a tan interior, very similar to ours. And there was a bunch of other stuff that they had changed on them to set them up for racing. They're collectible because of the low number of production and the fact that it was a factory race car. Well, this car, I don't really consider it to be super, super rare. Yes, it's one of about 4,000 or a little over, but this car is kind of at the low end of its value. And if I was to have a 95 Cobra R and I added all the things to make it drivable, like AC and a radio and stuff like that, that would decrease its value. People are going to want those cars the way they left from the factory. They don't want a modified car because of the collectability. This car, we're kind of at the bottom of where it's going to be. It's not super collectible. It's not a low mile car. It's got some stuff that's been changed under the hood. We don't have original wheels. We got a spoiler that's been added. You know, there's a lot of things that take away from the collectability and the originality of this car. So this is a good platform to make a car that I've always wanted, which was the 95 Cobra R, but without the constraints of budget or worrying about the value of the car. I can swap out this 5-liter and put in a 351 relatively easy. We can change out that transmission, that old wore-out T5, and find a Tremec TKO or maybe a TKX or even a 3550 and add that to it. We've got AC in the car, so I can enjoy driving it. We've got the radio in the car, same thing. I like to turn the radio up and listen to the music. And the gray interior is nice because I'm not a huge fan of tan. I would eventually wind up swapping this out for black or gray. And, well, that's already done. This car came with gray interior. So let me know what your all's thoughts are. Do you think I'm crazy for building the 95 Cobra R clone or tribute car, whatever you want to call it, out of this? Or, would you put this back to the way it was when it left the factory? My thought is it's a great platform to do a 95 Cobra R clone. Whichever direction we go with this, just know that this car fits into what we normally do on this channel. And that is taking a car that needs some work, that doesn't run or drive, and getting it back on the road again. Because regardless of the direction that I go with this, whether I just leave it the way it is, or if I do build it into a clone, or let's say I try to do like a mild restoration, we're going to put this thing back on the road and we're going to get it running and driving. And we're going to save this car from who knows what. But that is the point of this channel, is we get things back on the road that would have otherwise been sold off, traded, or whatever. As a side note, I have been chasing this car for a while. I've known about this car for a little bit, and I kind of put it off that I just wasn't going to be able to get it. So I'm very excited to get this one and to build a good plan on what I'm going to do. So thanks for listening to the long-winded introduction to the 95 GTS on the channel. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for the likes, the comments, and the subscribes. That all means the world to me. Remember to stay gloved up.